YouTube, what is going on? PPS back. It is the 17th already, man. Damn, we're cooking. We're cooking through October. Week 6 is finishing up here. We got a Monday Night Football show recapping this past weekend. Joined as always by my guy Monotone Football. How are you doing, Stu?
I'm doing good. I got this little poster behind me. I've been criticized for my lack of decoration in the past, but I did end up putting it directly behind my head. As you can see, my interior design skills aren't quite up to par. So for next show, hopefully I will have improved that. It may be right there or right there. But for now, I'm doing pretty good. Had a pretty solid week and just trying to keep it going and hope Russ throws some passes and we get some offense and some touchdowns this week, as opposed to last time when he was on prime time.
Yeah, I don't know how. I don't know what Lynch has done for the NFL to get him on this many primetime games. Is unbelievable, bro. It's just crazy. These guys suck every primetime game, and he still continues to get out there. But yeah, I'm excited. Jay already popped in here talking about NBA. I'm excited to finally pull this one down and get my Bucks one up here and finally get back into that. But I think we might sneak a couple picks in there for NBA, maybe just live in there. But I think we're going to probably have more NFL. Hopefully Thursday night gets a little bit better because we've had some dreadful games.
Yeah, no, it hasn't been quite as fun recently. And even yesterday, Sunday night, we kind of expected a huge divisional battle, and unfortunately, we didn't really get it. We kind of got the Eagles just showing out, taking care of the Cowboys pretty easily. So hopefully today's the day, man. Hopefully today's the day.
Yeah, hopefully we can start seeing some points flying up on this board. Should be a little bit better than the last one, but hey, we'll see what happens. Let's just check out who's in the chat already. We got Jay popping in here, Turbo, Elver coming in here early. Love to see it. Plus money, Bob, as always. I don't know if I'm gonna make you happy today, my friend. I don't think I have a plus money spot, but minus 110, we're straight there. So you're talking about Jay already, Byron. Yeah, dude, it's been dreadful. So yeah, I guess we can kind of talk about recap of our picks from this past weekend. What's up, Giovanni? Hopes all is going well, my friend. We'll go over our picks from the weekend and kind of just talk about those games that we're in because we kind of covered the big games with our spots that we were at. You won this one. Bills, man, that defense looked pretty damn good.
Yeah, no, it was an interesting game. I mean, it was lower scoring, right? We kind of expected maybe the shootout of the century, but obviously, like you said, the Bills sealed the deal with the interception at the end of the game. It was an interesting one. It was a fun game to watch, very competitive the whole time. And yeah, Singletary just kind of squeaked by, so that was good to see.
Yeah, a lot of dump offs. Love to see that. I ended up losing this for my loss of the week. My only 1.5 for my VIP card. We had a good week this week overall, so that was very good. But yeah, dude, it is just I don't know how Cliff Kingsbury's gonna get out of this, dude. I don't know.
I said it last time. I said if he loses this game, man, that seat gets even hotter. We were talking about that on the show. In fact, I was more arguing he should be fired if they lose this game. I don't think that's happening. You guys brought up a good point about DeAndre Hopkins. That's kind of a shield they can use. Like, oh, we don't have our best wide receiver, but I don't know how much longer this guy has because if you're the Cardinals, you need to win that game. Like the Seahawks are a solid team. They're above average team at this point, but the Cardinals need to win that game. And it's ugly to be in Arizona right now.
It was defense poor. Like they couldn't even stop the run, and that's what they're good at. They couldn't even stop the run. Gino just had to play game manager yesterday. Didn't even have to get the throwing out there. And Arizona scoring 9 points on that defense and kicking 3 field goals from under 50 yards. Like at some point, you just got to go, man. I mean, you got Kyler. You got let them try a little bit there. But let's give a quick shout out here to Mr. Birdman going 4-0 in his first 2 shows with us. That was awesome. He had Kittle and Trevor Lawrence. Lawrence obviously was running for his life, bro. They were terrible. Jacksonville got absolutely washed by Indianapolis, and that's going to be kind of talking about what I'm going to be talking about here soon with this Denver defense, where Denver kind of slowed Matt Ryan down. Matt Ryan threw for like 380 yesterday. I think he was the second highest fantasy scoring quarterback yesterday.
Yeah, that was a weird game. That was a weird game. Obviously, the game winner to Alec Pierce. I know that cashed a lot of people on gambling Twitter. That one pass at the end, so I was happy to see that. But yeah, Matt Ryan was throwing all over the place. They were dumping down like crazy. I mean, checkdowns galore in that one. It'll be interesting see, because Jackson went out, right? He compiled a bunch of receiving yards, then he went out. They don't have any other receiving backs, assuming Hines still misses. So it'll be interesting to see who picks up the check down slack. Because whoever's getting those check downs, I want to bet on next week, 100%.
Yeah, I'm not going to guess Philip Lindsay's going to be catching too many of those down there. So, I guess we can talk about the old guys here before we head into our plays here. My Rodgers and Tom Brady, man, it just fell apart. How many parlays were killed by those? Like, everybody was flipping Rodgers in their parlays. I don't bet on the Packers for this specific reason. I just can't do it. It just doesn't make sense for me because they were 7.5 point spread. Obviously, I thought they would win, but I mean, let's just talk about my boy here. My biggest play of the week, 2-unit total one. Breece Hall just absolutely destroyed it, and I think he ended up with almost 100 yards rushing alone. Yeah. So that was my biggest play of the week, and luckily it was because it would have been demoralizing otherwise.
Yeah, no, I sprinkled on 100 plus rushing yards at plus 520 too, which I thought was a great price. I posted about that on Twitter. It was very good. It was inspired by you, honestly. You definitely were hyping up Breece Hall in here, and I agree. It's nice to see kind of a rookie take over the reins, and he's been really good over there. I mean, Michael Carter, he was barely involved, really, and I think the kind of stat sheet from the week before kind of may have tricked some people because he got those 2 touchdowns, but he only got those 2 touchdowns because Breece got tackled at the 1 both times, and the guy was like breathing heavy, and they had to give him a break on the sideline, and they just said, you go in there, buddy. But it kind of proved this week that this is Hall's backfield from now on. So this Jets defense, it keeps playing well. This team is just going to run the ball a lot.
Yeah, no, parlays, those juiced out parlays, all those heavy favorite parlays, every one of those went down this week. Obviously, Steelers, Mitchell Trubisky coming out and showing he's not dead, playing for a backup spot, maybe playing for a trade here because he looked very, very good against Tampa Bay there in a spot that I really did not expect him to play well after the concussion to Pickett.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was a weird game. I was watching that one pretty closely because I live bet Fournette receptions, which did end up hitting. Shout out to Tom Brady. Even when he sucks, he still checks the ball down. We love to see that. But yeah, it's almost like I can't even explain how this is like how did Brady lose that game? Like the Steelers obviously showed a lot of grit. You know, Mike Tomlin, I think a lot of people criticize his coaching, and I think those people are kind of dumb. Like Mike Tomlin is a winner, right? And there's a certain quality to being a winner. He's constantly produced winning teams as a coach. Even when he has this absolutely terrible group of guys, he still gets them going every single year. Even last year when they beat the Bills in week 1, he gets these guys ready to go to war, and they obviously go to war for him, right? I mean, those D linemen were undermanned, and they were dominating the offensive line. They had corners that we've never heard of, right? We don't know who these guys are, and we all went under on the Mike Williams receiving yards before all those corners were ruled out, and it still went under.
Evans.
Oh yeah, who did I say? Mike Williams?
Yeah, you're hyping my pick there, I guess.
Yeah. But even we all run under Mike Evans, and then we got kind of worried about it because the whole secondary got ruled out, and these guys still came out and slowed this offense down. So it's serious concern time for both of these guys, right? I've been kind of pushing Rodgers. He's going to bounce back. Brady's going to bounce back. Rodgers is a little bit more concerning, right? I mean, his stats have been pretty awful every single game this season, and now he's lost to the Jets and the Giants in back-to-back games. He gets Washington next week. Well, we'll have to see how that goes. A little past the proper rivalry game going on, but
yeah, it's gonna be a get right spot, I guess. Where you're gonna have to hope for. The only thing is Matt LaFleur now is gonna start getting some shit because Aaron Jones getting 5 touches yesterday. That's
was low, yeah.
Why is A.J. Dillon running this ball more than Aaron Jones? Aaron Jones is literally the engine of this offense. It's not even close. Like, when you're playing these big-time linebackers, I bet you some of those linemen and linebackers probably run faster than A.J. Dillon. And I'm not even kidding. Like, a straight 40, I would take some of those linebackers easily over A.J. Dillon. And why wouldn't you put a guy who's faster? It didn't make sense. LaFleur's getting some pretty heavy flack here I've been seeing in the local stuff. It's been pretty bad. So, yeah, I guess that leads us into today's game. We have 2 teams. I guess the Chargers are underperforming to their standards right after last year. And obviously the Broncos have been as well. Do you have a lean on this game before we get into our picks?
Oh, what's the spread at right now? Do you have it at
4.5, I believe. 4.5.
Yeah, I was talking about this one to Vaughn and Prop Bomb over the weekend, and I was kind of saying this feels like a Chargers win by 3, right? The Chargers never do anything easy. Like, I love betting on the Chargers when they're dogs because they do throw away a lot of games, but it's normally by a field goal. They give up that field goal at the end. They have some kind of stupid Chargers special team mistake that always tends to happen. I don't know. Broncos, they haven't shown much at all, right? I mean, everyone in the chat already knows this. Let's watch the Broncos. No one's been impressed so far. I mean, speaking of quarterbacks underperforming, Russ is at the top of the list. They signed him to this mega contract, gets all these primetime games, has not been pretty so far. So my lean would be on the Chargers right here, but 4.5 does feel like a bit much just because I am considering this is a game that's going to end up fairly low scoring. So yeah, I'd probably lean the Chargers on the money line, but I don't know if I'm willing to kind of make that jump down to the 4.5.
Yeah, we're seeing Chargers now -4 on DraftKings at -115, juice to them, obviously. -210 as their money line. I think the Chargers do win this. I just can't back the Broncos at all at this point until they show me that they deserve my money. So I probably won't be betting a spread. Maybe I'll tease the Chargers to be like +2 or whatever. Maybe something stupid like that, just so I get some action on the side because I'm a degenerate. But it's all right. That's pretty much the only thing I do because this game just seems weird to me. Russ got that PRP injection. They had a doctor on like the Sirius XM thing talking about how it takes like 3 weeks for it to actually like do something for you. So it's just going to be straight painful the whole time. I just think this game could be really gritty and just be stupid running the football and trying to keep Justin Herbert from getting destroyed because he's been running for his life as well. And this Broncos pass defense and rushing the passer has been pretty damn good.
Yeah, no, I mean, Bradley Chubb over there, they're getting Simmons back too. They're getting their best safety back for this game, or he should be at least, I believe. No, I think they activated him officially. Yeah, so he should be back. Yeah, the Broncos, and then we got Surtain over on the outside, who I'm sure we'll get into a little bit later. But this is not a defense you really want to target. And like you said, the way I'm feeling, like, aren't both of these teams going to play kind of ugly football, right? Like, aren't we going to see, like, I don't know why the Broncos are going to want to establish the run with Melvin Gordon so bad, but it feels like Melvin Gordon's going to get like 8 carries in the first quarter or something like that. Like, it really does. Because I know the Chargers run defense is terrible. We all know that. They're just terrible last year. It looked like it was going to be good for maybe like the first 2 weeks, and then it's all went downhill from there. So we know why they're going to try to run the ball. It's just, do you have the right skill sets to do that? Are Melvin Gordon, Latavius Murray, and Mike Boone really going to be the guys that take advantage of this weakness? I'm not so sure. So that's kind of why I lean Chargers as well.
All right. Yeah, that's definitely where I think too. I don't know why Boone doesn't get a little bit more action. I think he got 33% of the carries last week.
Yeah.
But doubled up the efficiency, doubled up yards per carry on Gordon. Maybe he's just not built like that. Maybe he's not a 3-down back, but still he's something like, it's kind of like those guys that you just want to see in the game more that just make something happen when they are in there. It was like the Colts game last week where you just saw Peyton Lindsey running for like 4 or 5 yards, and then Deion Jackson just pops a 7-yarder. It just looks better, just kind of stuff like that. So I guess we will head into our picks here and get it rolling. So we did end up going 2-2, cashing, I think, 0.26 units. So it's pretty much as close as we can get to even there. But we are at 3.19 for the year there, just to put that out there.
2 more Hollywood Brown catches, man. If he doesn't get injured, not catches, yards. If he doesn't get injured on that last drive, we have a great week. But, a win is a win. A profit is profit. And we got today to keep that going.
No, I don't think we have a touchdown parlay on the slate. So these are going to be the only 2 plays for you guys today. We'll kick it over to you and start off with your spot today.
Yeah, no, we've learned about the touchdown parlays against the Broncos. Although I want to take a victory lap. We didn't put one for the last one either. Okay, we were not into that game either. But I'm going with Austin Eckler, 4 catches, pairing that one up with the first quarter under 14.5. This is -110 over on DraftKings. Playing this one for half a unit right here. For me, the toughest part is I see Plus Money Turbo mentioned in the chat, the under 55.5. I almost went the game total under to pair with Eckler. You could get that at plus money. The thing that worried me a little bit, honestly, was just the fact that earlier in the season, the one solid offense they did play was the Raiders, and that game did go up to 55. So that kind of had me a little bit more worried. So I decided to go with the under 14.5 first quarter, which is something my friend, that guy Betts, has been all over the season. It's one of his kind of go-tos, hitting at a crazy high hit rate. And even when you think of common sense, right, when you go into a game script, what we were just talking about a minute ago, both of these teams, you want to attack them on the ground, right? It's not that their run defenses are bad for the Broncos necessarily, but both of these teams are more susceptible on the ground than they are through the air. So I think that leads both teams to kind of start off in a pretty slow, kind of boring, kind of let's run the ball with Melvin Gordon. Like I said, I'm seeing like 7-8 carries from Melvin Gordon, like the first quarter. Maybe Latavius steals one, maybe Boone steals one, but you get the idea. Just a very slow-paced start to the game. As for Austin Eckler, probably my favorite play in this whole game. I might even just bet him again later, like maybe 4.5 catches, because that's plus money right now. Eckler has 4 catches in every single game so far this season. He's been extremely consistent on that. Clearly the best receiving back in football. Leads pretty much every major stat you want to look at, whether it's targets, receptions, receiving yards, yards after the catch, all that stuff for a receiving back. He is clearly the number 1 guy in the league so far. And now we get a Broncos matchup we kind of touched on a little bit earlier. They're getting their best safety back out in coverage. They have Surtain on the outside to deal with Mike Williams. And beyond Mike Williams, who's there to go to? Is it Joshua Palmer? Because we've talked about how bad that guy is on here before. Is it going to be Gerald Everett? It might be Gerald Everett, but he's only playing like 50% of the snaps now because they want to play Donald Parham and some guy named like McKitty or something like that. I don't even really know who that is, but I keep seeing him in the box score. So it's kind of hard to really find a second dependable target, and I really do think Eckler's going to be running plenty of routes. When you look at the last couple weeks too with the Broncos, right? They let Jackson soar over his number. He had 29 receiving yards. That was only set at something, like 13, 14, something like that. Then we have Josh Jacobs sailed over his receiving yards. He had 33, despite the fact that his line was also in the low teens. Then we want to look at the 49ers. They didn't even really have a receiving back. Well, Jeff Wilson still had 33 receiving yards. Kyle Juszczyk added an additional 24 as well. The Broncos have been susceptible to these pass-catching running backs. Even all those guys I mentioned are significantly worse than Austin Eckler. No offense, they're all fine players, but Austin Eckler is clearly the lead receiving back in the league. And I think there's just not too many weapons, right? Mike Williams has a tough matchup on the outside. I know we're going to talk about that in just a second. Beyond that, I don't trust Palmer. I don't trust Everett. Keenan Allen is still out. I think Austin Eckler has a really big game right here.
Yeah, I think it all goes to Eckler. Honestly, I think that's where everything's going to be funneled through. And you kind of alluded to it before, but I'm going under on Mike Williams. You brought up Simmons. I thought that was a great point. But I love Patrick Surtain, man. That dude is an absolute stud. He's a bona fide stud on the outside. Obviously, having Simmons over the top is going to help as well. But I'm just looking at who the Broncos have had lead receiving against them so far this year. Let's take a look at 3 out of the 5 games here. Against Goat Gino, baby. I mean, even though he lost one for me, I'm still going to call him Goat. I don't care. Goat Gino, leading receiver in that game, Will Dissly. Will Dissly was the leading receiver, and you have 2 great receivers, still couldn't get more than 40 yards on this defense, right? Going to Houston, right? Brandon Cooks, obviously the number 1 there. Everybody knows that they're the number 1. Who leads receiving? Nico Collins, right? Nico Collins is the leading receiver in that game, right? Obviously, Debo's Debo. They find a way to give him the ball in every single way there. But even if you go into last game, right? Michael Pittman, he had like 4 catches on the first 2 drives, completely shut out of the game in that second half. We saw Alec Pierce take over, right? It's always got to be that second guy against this team because they completely shut down that number 1. Mike Williams has the ability for big plays. I get it. But Simmons over the top at safety. You still got Surtain traveling. He's only got a 55% matchup advantage, which is very low for a guy of his size. Usually they get a pretty big boost on Pro Football Focus there. And I know this doesn't really mean much, but every single home game this year, he's gone under this number, and he's hit it in all 3 away games. So I don't know what that has to do with it, but it might just be a comfortability factor. It might just be just maybe Herbert plays better away from SoFi. But I just can't get away from taking the under on this spot. I just think it's too high. Obviously, Keenan Allen not being there is going to lose some targets and everything, but targets or not, this is just a tough defense. They're number 3 in receiving or passing yards per game against them and only allowing 176. So that's obviously something I like to see there as well. And I think that this game too, I think the Chargers win. So maybe we just see that ball get ran into the ground in that fourth quarter.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like this spot too. Like the biggest worry I have is just kind of you allude on it for a second is, I mean, he could get like 13, 14 targets in this game, right? Because you mentioned it's always been the number two on all these other teams. I'm just concerned on who steps up. I mean, obviously, I think Eckler steps up. I just don't know how high that volume gets at a certain point. If Joshua Palmer isn't getting the job done, if I don't even know who's their wide receiver beyond that. I only know the tight ends, Everett, Parham, and all that, because they lost that fast guy, Guyton. They lost Guyton. So I'm not even sure who the wide receiver 3 is. But if they don't step up, if Palmer doesn't step up, then I am a little concerned that he could just get showered with targets. But I've been on the same page as you, where I think Surtain is one of the best cover corners in the league. Additionally, when you look at it, Mike Williams historically is way better versus man-to-man coverage than zone coverage. It makes perfect sense when you look at him. He's a huge physical receiver. You throw 50-50 balls, he brings them down. That's not quite how the Broncos operate. 7th most zone. Additionally, it's going to be the 7th most zone with a man-to-man shadow corner following you around as well. I think it's a pretty tough matchup for Mike Williams in general, so I am not interested in playing his overs today.
Yeah, and I thought what you said was great about the zone and stuff there too. And I'm just going to go into one other thing is Mike Williams has been a deep play threat, right? He's got those deeper targets. That's what makes him such an elite receiver in these longer ADOT spots. Denver Broncos, 3rd in the NFL in yards per play at only 4.7 yards per play. If they can keep everything underneath, I don't think Mike Williams is that type of guy who's going to be running those crossing in routes, right? He's trying to get down the field and make something happen. Obviously, 50-50 balls he's going to be very good at. But if there's 2 guys down there with him, I'll take that chance on the spot. It's going to be one where we're going to be sweating for most of the game, but I think that this is still a good spot.
And I also just checked their wide receiver 3. I can't believe I forgot this. Washington legend, DeAndre Carter. He's only 5'6" or something like that, but he's got heart. So I might actually, if they put his lines out, I might have to hit like a 40+ receiving yards line at like plus 300 or something like that. I'll definitely take a look at that because he's great. I love DeAndre Carter. Can't believe I forgot that.
Yeah, if we're going into the Taylor fade here, we might as well play DeAndre Carter over 100 receiving yards. Might as well play him over 100 if we don't think Williams getting that 70. Go Eckler, DeAndre Carter, alternate over 100 yards receiving. We might be a millionaire by tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe so. We'll have to see. I don't even know if they'll let you go that high. I don't think there's going to be a DeAndre Carter 100+ option. But as for Justin Herbert, he is the most popular play of the day over on Pikkit Sports. You guys can obviously check this out yourselves over on Pikkit with code PTP. For Herbert, this is a tough one for me because the Broncos defense has been good, but they haven't really been tested as much this season, right? A lot of those matchups, I mean, it depends on how good you think Matt Ryan and the Colts are, but really it was kind of just the Raiders, right? That was their, I guess, biggest test of the season. But you also got to remember that was like a Raiders desperation game, right? They had no wins so far. That was like their biggest game of the season. They needed to get a win on the board right there. I'm just going to go under right here. I thought about going over. It's a tough one. I think this line is pretty fair. I think he probably ends up in the 260, 270 range. But I'm going to lean under. I'm going to assume they lean pretty heavy on Eckler. And also, they've been deploying like 3 backs. I mean, what's his name? Joshua Kelly was very good last week. And then they got Sony Michel just lingering over there as well. So I'm gonna assume we get a slower paced game. They lean a little bit heavy on the run game. And I think Herbert, ends up doing pretty well. Or not pretty well. Solid.
Sorry, my dog just got underneath my legs here, just hit his head on the thing there. So I'll be taking the under here as well. I mean, I can't really take the over with me taking an under on my bet for the day. So, or else I'd be like in that weird middle spot where I'm cheering for stuff, but if it goes to Williams, I'm not cheering for it. But I want him to get points and I want to get Herbert points. But we need Herbert to throw for 7 touchdowns to win my fantasy week this week. So, I mean, it's all because of Curtis Samuel. And that's really that's all we're going to talk about. But yeah, I'll be on the under here for Herbert. I'll be fading this spot. Tough spot for me to want to back him.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't blame you. It's a close one. I think this is actually a pretty fair number, right? And it's hard to get a read on the Broncos. If Russ can actually move the ball on the Chargers and he's actually good this week, then this game could be an over game. But that's a big ask, judging by what we've seen so far this season.
With the injury and stuff, you looking at Russ's 233.5. Are you thinking they're going to run the ball here? Or are you going to think they're just going to keep chucking this ball around? 233.5 is very, very low for Russ.
Yeah, I mean, last time, if you remember, we were both on the Colts. We were both in that Colts game. We were on Russ 200 passing yards as the alt line there. As I mentioned earlier, I think they're going to try to run the ball. I just don't think it's going to work. Like, I don't think they have the right personnel to take advantage of the Chargers' weakness. Kind of like we've talked about a little bit recently with some of the, I know from my Washington matchup, right? When I was talking about the Bears and the Titans, I was like, well, I think Washington has a little bit of an edge because they can't take advantage of the throwing, right? That's what they're not great at. It's kind of the same situation here where I'm not sure if the Broncos are going to be able to take advantage of that terrible run defense just because Melvin Gordon hasn't impressed. Latavius Murray just kind of spawned in. I don't know where he's just been hanging out on practice squads this year. And then Mike Boone is a receiving back. So I don't know. I think he does go over. I think that's a pretty low number, but he's also, like you said, a little bit injured, a little bit banged up, and hasn't been great this season. So I don't know if I'm like jumping out of my seat to bet that one either.
Perfect. Well, I think that's all we got here. I'm not touching the touchdowns at all in this game. I mean, this game could be 3-0 for all I know. Maybe 9-6. I'm thinking maybe a 9-6. All field goals from like the 3-yard line just because these coaches suck. But all right, let's head on into our recap here. And if we have any questions, drop them in there quickly, guys. We got 32 of you guys in here. Smash that like button while we're at it as well. And let's get to our recap for today's show.
Yep, I'll be going with Austin Eckler, 4 catches, and then the first quarter under 14.5 points. Going that one for half unit, -110 over on DraftKings. Then for tail or fade, I will be fading Justin Herbert, but just barely. I don't really, that's not a strong one right there.
And I'll be on under 70.5 receiving yards for Mike Williams at -115. I will be fading Herbert as well. I know it's weird because I love Justin Herbert. I love him so much. It's so hard to back him to do bad, but yeah. All right. We're on our way to head on out here. I will kick this to you because I know you haven't been watching very much, but who's your guess here?
I mean, I'm rooting for the Guardians. I thought that Naylor celebration yesterday was very funny, just because he kept doing it. Like, if he did it once, I think it would have been kind of funny. He did it like 4 times, though. He just kept going like this as he ran. It made him look a little bit silly, but it was good entertainment value at least. So I hope the Guardians win. I'm just rooting for all the underdogs. It hasn't been working so far, though.
It has been. I mean, the Dodgers went out. Dodgers are out.
But who did they lose to again?
Padres.
Yeah, see, the Padres are like a big market team, though. I was rooting for the Mariners. That's who I was pulling for. I was watching the Mariners game. I watched that 16, 17-inning game, and then they lost. So I feel I don't want to watch the Guardians. I feel like I'm going to jinx them today. But
honestly, as a guy who like does a lot of pitching stuff, like you have to hit Josh Naylor in the back or the ribs immediately. You have to. Like, you can't let that happen, dude. You can't let a guy do that. That has to either be right in the ribs or square him in the back. It has to happen. There's nothing else. Maybe you call up Aroldis Chapman back off of the bench, wherever the hell he is. He's somewhere gone because he didn't want to travel with the team. Bring him in for one pitch. Let him get hit, and then he's going to get tossed anyway, so he won't even be there for anything. Just let him throw one pitch and get out of there, But I can't believe he did that dude. He did it from entire first to second base, bro. It was, and then you lose the game, and then it's not even to go ahead. You're still losing.
They were down by one.
Figure it out, dude. Like, if you're gonna talk shit, win. Especially when you're ahead in the series, bro. Like, if that was a go-ahead homer in like the 7th, yes, you're still losing, and you didn't score any more runs after that swing, and you lost. So,
No, I mean, once again, if you celebrate once, I love celebrations. I love taunting. I love all that. He did it like 5. He did it around first. He did it around second. He did it around every single base. And then once again, on his way to the dugout too. It was a huge overreaction because you're right. They were still losing. They were still down by a run. It was great entertainment value.
Yeah, it was so dumb. But all right, before we head out, before we do our last shout outs, we got Toya bringing up a question in here. You got any thoughts on this one? This is probably going to be one of the other more popular plays.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking longest reception just because, I like with these higher ADOT guys, I like just depending on one catch rather than like more consistency. The biggest thing, I don't know if you guys have noticed, Sutton and Sutton and Russ just don't look on the same page at all. I mean, these last couple of games, there have been a lot of throws where it looks like someone's either running the wrong route or Russ had a miscommunication. Like, he's targeting Sutton, so it shows up in the box score as a target. but these throws are going kind of all over the place. So I don't know how much I really want to put my trust. I feel like KJ Hamler maybe someone a little bit more involved this week has a super low number, but I would probably go longest reception. But I couldn't blame anyone with that downfield, targets for Sutton.
Perfect. We got any shout outs here, Montel, before we head out? 30 minutes. Perfect. We're right on time. We're out of schedule to get it rolling today. You got anything for the people before we head on out today?
Yeah, I mean, make sure to follow us both on Twitter. I know not everyone is always around for the main slate, but I've been crushing live bets so far. I don't know why more people aren't doing them, but I'm kind of glad. It's just kind of me chilling right now, doing live bets. I don't have to worry about people like moving the lines, so it's pretty cool. And even though these games are disgusting, it's pretty easy to find these live edges, especially when the lines are all the way off. And thank you, Chris. I just woke up about 30 minutes ago. PPS had to make us go early. Okay. Monday's my day off. I want to sleep in. So I'm proud. Okay.
Yeah, dude, it's good. It's good. I'm stretching out repping that Commander's hat on right now this early in the morning. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, for our giveaway stuff that we posted over on Pikkit, we'll give you the answer of those on Wednesday after the Monday Night Football game here. So all of that will be taken care of there. But thank you guys for all tuning in. Best of luck on all your bets tonight. And I guess go Guardians is what I'm hearing from here. So hopefully they can pull it out in 5 games here. So thank you guys. Have a good one. Peace.